Hi everybody, my name is Isabella Ryan and this is my informative speech for SBC 1608. A little bit about my audience is that's my best friend Christina and my mom and her fiance and a couple of other family members are on FaceTime, as well as my other best friend Amir videotaping. Today I'd like to ask you the question of if you've ever been in a scenario where someone is portraying they're interested in the conversation by the words they're using, however their body language might suggest otherwise. For example, they may be looking at technology or just looking past you. This is a scenario where nonverbal communication suggests that they are not as interested as they say they are. Today I would like to elaborate more on what nonverbal communication is and how it differentiates between men and women. So diving deeper into the subject, nonverbal communication is a major part in our everyday life. In a research done by Albert Merhaven, he expresses that
of the emotional meaning of a message was communicated verbally or with the words a person uses. And instead, 38% of the intended communication was conveyed via paralanguage or with the qualities of the voice, and that 55% of the communication event was conveyed using facial expressions. While this study has been qualified by later research, it still conveys the idea that nonverbal communication is a major contributor to how messages are sent and received. The first
So like he said, only 7% of our communication is expressed verbally. Thus, the other 93% would be expressed through our body language. Another great example is the words said by Yang Exonen. He states that body language is a silent and true language which can express a person's inner world. It always catches one's eye, mostly in non-communicative ways. Thus, the two speakings from these two great men suggest that understanding more about what a person is actually saying is expressed through body language. You can also express nonverbal communication through a way a person moves, like how they're standing, where they're standing, or through their facial expressions. A smile gives positive feedback and impacts the affect domain by communicating pleasure, trust, friendliness, interest, excitement, or surprise. You can tell when a person is standoffish by where they're standing, say it's further away, by how they're standing, say their arms are crossed, or through their facial expressions, such as they're more straight-faced. However, you know a person is comfortable when they are maybe standing closer, they're smiling, and their body language is more open. All of these examples suggest that nonverbal communication is the biggest part in communicating today. Now, since we've learned more about nonverbal communication, I'd like to say how it's expressed in men. Men tend to express a more dominant or masculine way of body language. For example, they may stand straighter when speaking, they may make eye contact, or their facial expressions and hand gestures may suggest they're leading the conversation. This form of nonverbal communication displays a natural advantage that makes men seem more dominant. Furthermore, the tone of voice when communicating can also display masculinity. It's said that men have a croakier voice quality, and it has been perceived as more masculine. Looking at the other gender, I would like to elaborate on how women express nonverbal communication. It's said that they tend to express a more submissive or feminine way. Having their head tilted down, or eyes looking up, or even sitting with their legs crossed are great examples of how they might display more femininity or submissiveness. It's also possible that women use different gestures than men. For example, they may have their palms facing up versus palms facing down. This tends to come across as more welcoming. They also tend to adjust their status to their equal of their partners. This is perceived as submissive because it seems that they're looking for information to receive from the person talking. Furthermore, the tone of voice in women is displayed as a soft phonation index and shimmer. This means that their tone of voice is actually talking at a higher frequency than men, thus coming off as more feminine. In conclusion, I hope you learned more about nonverbal communication and how it is differentiated between men and women. I'd also like to keep in mind that in this day and age, we are not subjected to just two genders. Thank you.